Persuasive Speech, what it do? Today I'm going to be talking about nuclear energy and its role in society today. When I mention nuclear, what comes to mind? Maybe it's the nuclear bombs dropped on Hiroshima or Nagasaki, or maybe it's a nuclear meltdown like Fukushima or Chernobyl. Now, one thing these all have in common is that they're very negative. And for decades, the public has thought of nuclear as a problem, but what if it's the solution? Hi, I'm Travis Smither, and today I'll be talking about, firstly, the stigma around nuclear. Then I'll talk about how nuclear energy could help our society today. And lastly, I'll be talking about the new technologies that make nuclear a viable option in today's society. Firstly, the stigma around nuclear. Obviously, the nuclear bombs were extremely devastating. August 6th, 1945, the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. And then 3 days later, on August 9th, the second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Now, according to the Bulletin of the Atomic Sciences, about 110,000 people were killed from the initial bombs alone, but that doesn't include the lasting radiation in the area. Now, on the right side, we see Chernobyl up top, a nuclear meltdown caused by some incompetence and outdated designs. And on the bottom, we have Fukushima, a Japanese city that was struck by a tsunami that caused their nuclear reactor to melt down. These were all incredibly horrible incidents, and they really shed a bad light on nuclear as a whole. And now we see nuclear as kind of a scary thing today, but how can it help us out? Now, according to NASA's Vital Signs of the Planet, 19 of the hottest years have occurred from 2000 to 2020, with the exception of 1998. So this shows that the temperature is rising and climate change is a real issue. Now, according to Harvard's Jordan Wilkinson, in 2015, we released 2 billion metric tons of CO2, and fossil fuels accounted for 99% of the emissions. Now, fossil fuels include things like coal, oil, and natural gas. These three culprits are really a huge issue because they supply energy to almost the whole world. Now, CO2 is really bad because it gets into the atmosphere and messes things up, but this is where nuclear energy can help us. Nuclear is the perfect option because it doesn't release any CO2, and it's an extremely efficient form of energy. So let's look at the old designs that may have caused some of those meltdowns in the past. Right here we see the fuel rods. These were made of uranium-235, and this was an isotope accounting for about 1% of the uranium mined. We'll talk about that later. But these would react with each other, heat up, water was pumped through, turned into steam, where it would turn a turbine and generate electricity. These designs are very expensive, and their main problems are they have a lot of moving parts, and this leaves room for error, which makes it gives us a little bit of difficulty, and we see problems like Chernobyl and Fukushima. Secondly, this kind of reactor only uses the isotope 235, like I mentioned earlier, and that's only 1% of their uranium mined. So in the past, the other 99% of uranium-238, the majority portion, was left sitting there and had to be contained because it was still radioactive. Here comes the traveling wave reactor. Now, this new design allows for the use of the uranium-238, and it has many less moving parts, fixing both the problems we had with our previous design. As we see, a sort of log is packed full of uranium-238, and it is lit and burned slowly over a few decades, generating continuous power without the moving parts. The energy could just be harvested throughout its lifetime. Firstly, I covered the stigma around nuclear, addressing those tragedies. Secondly, we looked at how nuclear can help us in today's society. And lastly, we looked at recent developments in nuclear power, allowing for safer and more efficient designs. Now, with this deeper understanding of nuclear power, I hope you're able to overcome the stigma and accept the energy solution. If you're interested in a deeper understanding, I would really recommend Innovating to Zero, a TED Talk by Bill Gates. Thank you.